Shabbat Shalom, everyone. The process of Midrash, which is the quintessential Jewish way of reading and interpreting the text, the Torah, it's a delightful process and it's inscrutable. It's inscrutable because often our sages would stretch plausibility and imagination to make their point. Delightful because it was all done in the service of a feverish pursuit to find and invest meaning in our texts. So sometimes you read a Midrash and it lands well on your consciousness. It makes an apt and deep connection between you and the Torah. And some Midrashim fall on deaf ears because they failed the plausibility test. I want to share with you a Midrash from Parshat Vayera, Parsha this week, which does indeed require a limber imagination to accept, but also drives home a very important and long-lasting Jewish idea. So the Parsha begins with Avraham at his tent, and the three messengers, or angels, depending on how you understand it, coming to visit him. And the Torah tells us that Avraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent, Kichom Hayom, in the heat of the day. A natural question is, why do we need to know what the weather was like in Canaan when Avraham was having this encounter? What's the import to the story to know that he was sitting at the heat of the day? So Rashi, quoting a Midrash from the Talmud, says that God had actually brought out the sun in its full power in order that Abraham not be burdened by too many guests. And God's thinking was to give this guy Abraham, who recently accepted the charge to become the father of a new nation, give him a break from hosting. And with an oppressive sun baking the land, God understood that wayfarers would hesitate to travel, and fewer people would require hospitality in his tent. But according to the Midrash, God miscalculated Abraham's commitment to the mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim, of welcoming guests. It's not just that Abraham was hospitable. Abraham needed to host the way desert travelers who are thirsty need water. Without guests, he was parched. He was forlorn. He was empty. And so when God saw Abraham despairing at the lack of passersby, God sent the angels in the form of people to give Abraham an outlet for his hospitable urge. Is this plausible? Is this a reading that gets to the simplest meaning of the text? Not really. But in a few brushstrokes of their quill, the rabbis reinforce to us the centrality of welcoming others to our home within the culture of the religion and the people that Abraham is to initiate and represent for generations. With midrashic creativity, the rabbis turned a curious factoid regarding the weather in Canaan into a sermon on the Jewish value of hospitality. Now, one individual midrash like that is a drop in the bucket, a drop in the cultural water. But the cumulative impact of the rabbis reading Jewish values back into our sacred texts created the contours of the Jewish communal norms that we inherited and that we are charged to perpetuate. And so, thousands of years later, when you invite someone to your home, this week, this Shabbat, this month, you're not just being kind, you are Avraham. You are emulating the father of our nation on a hot day, acting out the idea that a home shared with others is the quintessential Jewish home. Shabbat Shalom.